If you own a business, you may be tempted to have your business own the aircraft. And although there are some tax advantages to having the aircraft owned within the business, you need to understand two issues. Issue number one is if the business is sued. And what are some common lawsuits that I see with my business clients? Wrongful termination, discrimination, or perhaps you have an employee that's driving a vehicle and gets into a car accident, exposing your business to that lawsuit. Furthermore, there can often be business partner disputes. We call them business divorces. That would expose the assets of the company. If the aircraft is owned by the business and there is a lawsuit against the business, then that aircraft can be exposed and lost to the plaintiff's judgment against the business. So recognize that you have not bifurcated risk by moving that asset out of the reach of the business's creditors into its own special purpose LLC. Now, from a tax advantage standpoint, I often see that the business will own an LLC that will own the aircraft. And I understand that sometimes you cannot have your cake and eat it too. Sometimes my clients have to make a choice. Do we want to take a tax advantage structure or do we want to have a asset protected structure? I don't recommend the business own an LLC which then owns the aircraft. The other issue about aircraft being owned by the business is if there is some kind of liability created by the operation of the aircraft, now we're exposing your operating business to the liability associated with the aircraft. Heaven forbid there is a crash, people die. Well, that liability now exposes your successful business that is generating your income and your livelihood unnecessarily. So also keep that in mind whenever the aircraft is owned by a business. The way we typically structure the use of the aircraft really doesn't prevent that type of risk because whoever is operating the aircraft, which if you have a business, is going to be liable. It's like leasing a vehicle from General Motors. General Motors is not on the hook. You, the driver, is on the hook. If you, the business, are operating the aircraft, you're still exposed. But keep in mind, this is just one factor into the consideration. So having the business own an LLC and that LLC then owns the aircraft does prevent that kind of exposure to a degree. However, it is not preventing the business's lawsuits against it from being able to take the aircraft because the business owns the LLC. That LLC then owns the aircraft. And so we haven't done anything to effectively protect the aircraft from the business's lawsuits.